Every breakup advice video tells you the same thing. Ignore her and she'll come running back. Go no contact, disappear. Make her miss you. And you know what? Most of you will completely screw this up, not because the advice is wrong, but because you're doing it for the wrong reasons with the wrong mindset at the wrong time. You think ignoring her is about getting her back. It's not. Let me explain what complete silence after a breakup really does, why most men fail at it, and what actually happens when you do it right. The purpose of complete silence isn't what you think. You're not trying to punish her. You're not playing games. You're not even trying to make her miss you. The real purpose: self-preservation, emotional restructuring. You're basically performing surgery on your own psychology, removing the tumor of dependency. But most guys think they're playing some tactical game where if they ignore her for exactly 30 days, she'll magically appear at their door. That's not how this works. The common mistakes men make are predictable and pathetic. Day 3 of no contact, you're checking her Instagram every hour. Day 7, you're typing messages and deleting them. Day 14, you convince yourself that just checking in isn't breaking no contact. By day 21, you've completely caved and sent some weak message about hoping she's doing well. Congratulations, you just reset the clock and showed her you have zero emotional discipline. I had a client who managed no contact for 47 days. 47 days of discipline, growth, genuine progress. Then he saw her post a photo with some guy. Wasn't even a boyfriend. Turned out to be her cousin. But he panicked. Sent a novel-length text about remembering the good times. She responded with K. One letter destroyed 47 days of progress because his silence wasn't real. It was just fear wearing a costume of strength. The fear-driven relapse is what kills most men. What if she finds someone else? What if she forgets about me? What if she's already moving on? Here's the brutal truth. She might. She might find someone tomorrow. She might already be with someone. And if your response to that possibility is panic, then you're not ready for this process. Real detachment means accepting she might be gone forever and being okay with that. The illusion of control is seductive but destructive. Guys think they can calculate the perfect moment to break silence. If I reach out after exactly 37 days with this specific message at this specific time, she'll respond positively. You're not conducting a science experiment. You're dealing with human emotions. There's no formula, no perfect timing, no guaranteed outcome. The only thing you control is yourself. And most of you can't even do that. Using silence purely to win her back is like going to the gym just to impress your ex. It's hollow, desperate, and she can smell it from miles away. You're still making her the center of your universe, just from a distance. That's not growth, it's just reorganized weakness. She's still controlling your actions, your thoughts, your goals. You've just added space between you and the puppet strings. The irrational attachment you're experiencing is literally addiction. Same brain chemicals as cocaine withdrawal. You're going through legitimate chemical dependency on the dopamine hits she provided. That's why you check her social media like a crack addict looking for residue in the pipe. That's why one text from her sends you into euphoria or despair. You're not in love. You're in withdrawal. The therapeutic dimension of detachment is what actually heals you. Every day you don't contact her, you're building new neural pathways. You're literally rewiring your brain to not need her validation. This isn't some metaphysical, it's neuroscience. But it takes time. Real time, not the 3 days you managed before cracking. We're talking months of consistent discipline. Humiliation avoidance alone should motivate your silence. Picture this. You send another emotional text. She screenshots it, shares it with her friends. They laugh about how pathetic you are. He's still not over me, she says, feeling powerful. Meanwhile, you're refreshing your phone every 30 seconds, hoping for a response. That's not love. That's voluntary degradation. The false development for her narrative needs to die. I'll get jacked and she'll regret leaving. I'll make more money and she'll want me back. I'll post photos with other women and she'll get jealous. Stop. Just stop. If your self-improvement requires a witness to have value, it's not improvement. It's performance. Real growth happens in private for you, regardless of whether she ever knows about it. Understanding your self-value outside her validation is the real work. Who are you when she's not watching? What do you want when her opinion doesn't matter? Most men can't answer these questions because they've outsourced their identity to female validation. You've become a reflection of what you think women want, instead of an actual person with independent worth. The emotional detox process is brutal but necessary. First week, you'll feel like you're dying. Second week, anger kicks in. Third week, bargaining starts. Fourth week, depression hits. Somewhere around week 6 to 8, if you've maintained discipline, something shifts. You have your first day where you don't think about her immediately upon waking. That's the beginning of freedom. Breaking internal patterns is the actual goal. You're not trying to change her behavior. You're rewiring your own mental habits. Every time you resist checking her profile, you're breaking the stimulus response pattern. Every time you don't react to memories, you're weakening those neural connections. You're literally rebuilding your brain's architecture through disciplined inaction. Resetting masculine identity through this process is profound. You rediscover who you were before she became your emotional center. That confidence you had before you needed her approval. That assertiveness before you started walking on eggshells. That composure before her chaos became your normal. You're not becoming someone new. You're excavating who you really are from under the rubble of codependency. Letting go as power is the hardest concept for weak men to grasp. You think holding on shows strength. It doesn't. Any fool can cling desperately to something. Real power is opening your hand and letting it fall. Real strength is walking away from what you want most and being okay with never having it. That's not giving up. That's growing up. The predictability of emotional manipulation becomes visible through silence. Week 1, she might test with a hey. Week 2, maybe an accidental call. Week 3, she gets angry. Real mature, ignoring me. Week 4, she might try vulnerability. I miss us. These aren't genuine emotions. They're control tactics. Your silence forces her to cycle through manipulation strategies, revealing them for what they are. This emotional resilience training is like military boot camp for your psyche. Every day you maintain discipline, you're getting emotionally stronger. Every urge you resist builds psychological muscle. You're learning to withstand emotional discomfort without collapsing. This skill translates to everything. Career, friendships, future relationships. You're becoming emotionally bulletproof. Most men misunderstand the time frame completely. They think 2 weeks of no contact is an achievement. That's nothing. Real rewiring takes months. Some situations require a year or more. The depth of change required is proportional to the depth of damage done. If you were together 5 years, 30 days of silence is a joke. You need real time for real change. Strategic patience isn't passive, it's active restraint. Every moment of silence is a choice. Every day of no contact is hundreds of micro decisions to not engage. This isn't sitting around waiting. This is active psychological warfare against your own weakness. You're not waiting for her to come back. You're waiting for the need for her to die. The misconception about provocations reveals insecurity. Posting thirst traps, fake happiness, strategic social media stories. It's all transparent desperation. You think you're showing her what she's missing, but you're actually showing her she still controls your behavior. Real indifference doesn't perform. It doesn't need an audience. It just exists. The danger of overanalyzing her behavior keeps you trapped. She viewed my story. What does it mean? She liked my friend's photo, but not mine. Is that a message? She changed her profile picture. Is that about me? Stop. Her behavior means nothing. Your interpretation of her behavior means everything about your mental state. You're keeping yourself in prison while holding the key. Real recovery versus the illusion of progress is crucial to understand. You can look recovered, new clothes, new routine, new attitude, while still being internally broken. External change without internal transformation is just redecorating a condemned building. Real recovery happens in your thoughts, your automatic responses, your unconscious assumptions. That's invisible work that can't be faked. The repetition of emotional mistakes even during no contact is common. You're not texting her, but you're texting everyone else about her. You're not looking at her profile, but you're asking friends about her. You're not contacting her, but you're living every moment in reaction to her absence. That's not no contact. That's contact with extra steps. Emotional discipline as masculine strength is what this really builds. The ability to feel something and not act on it. To want something and not chase it. To hurt and not seek comfort. This is what masculine frame actually means. Not being emotionless, but being bigger than your emotions. Feeling them fully while choosing your actions consciously. The societal epidemic of male emotional dependence is staggering. Entire generations of men who derive their worth from female validation. Your grandfather didn't need a woman to tell him he was a man. He knew it from his work, his word, his way of being. Now we have millions of men who feel worthless without a girlfriend. That's not evolution. That's devolution. Misinterpretation of online advice about ignoring is everywhere. Some pickup artist says ignore her for 30 days and she'll come back and suddenly everyone's an expert. But they don't understand the nuance, the internal work required. The fact that ignoring without genuine detachment is just manipulation, and women can sense manipulation like sharks sense blood. Individual variability means your situation is unique. Maybe you were together 10 years with kids. Your no contact looks different than some guy who dated for 3 months. Maybe she was abusive. Your healing process is different than someone who had an amicable split. Stop looking for universal rules. Start understanding your specific situation. The lack of self-standing is why you'll repeat the same patterns. You don't know why you chose her. You don't know why you stayed. You don't know why you tolerated what you tolerated. Without that understanding, you'll find another version of her, repeat the same dynamics, and wonder why all women are the same. They're not. You're the same. Understanding causality means tracing back the real reasons for the breakup, not the surface argument about dishes or communication. The real reasons, your neediness, her disrespect, your lack of boundaries, her manipulation, the incompatibility you both ignored, the red flags you both pretended were pink. Until you understand the real why, you can't prevent the next disaster. Detachment as spiritual purification sounds mystical, but it's practical. You're burning away the false parts of yourself, the parts that need external validation, the parts that fear abandonment, the parts that confuse attachment with love. What remains after this fire is your actual self, smaller perhaps, but pure, authentic, unshakable. Acceptance of loss as liberation, not defeat, is the paradigm shift. Losing her isn't losing. It's being freed from a prison you didn't know you were in. Every door that closes opens space for something better, but you can't see the opening while you're pounding on the closed door. Loss isn't subtraction, it's making space for addition. The false victory of reunion without interchange is a trap. Say she comes back after 2 months, you're ecstatic. You won. But if you haven't actually changed, you've just pressed restart on the same toxic game. Within 6 months, you'll be back in the same dynamic, same problem, same misery. Getting her back without becoming different is like reinfecting yourself with a disease you just recovered from. Growth through suffering isn't masochism, it's alchemy. You're taking emotional pain and transmuting it into wisdom. Every moment of resistance builds character. Every day of discipline creates strength. The suffering isn't pointless. It's the raw material for transformation, but only if you use it consciously instead of just wallowing in it. The testing of integrity happens daily during no contact. Are you who you claim to be? If you say you're done, are you done? If you say you don't need her, do your actions match? This process reveals whether you're a man of your word or just someone who makes sounds with his mouth. Most men discover they're the latter, and that discovery is painful but necessary. Self-refinement after trauma requires conscious effort. Who are you now that you're not her boyfriend? What do you want now that you're not planning around her? What matters to you now that her opinion is irrelevant? This isn't finding yourself, it's creating yourself. You're not discovering some pre-existing identity, you're building one from scratch. The long-term mindset shift from reactive to strategic is essential. You stop responding to emotional impulses and start making conscious choices. You stop living in the immediate and start thinking in months and years. You stop being a passenger in your emotional life and become the driver. This isn't about her anymore. It's about becoming someone who never ends up here again. Awareness of emotional addiction patterns helps you recognize the cycles, the checking behavior, the rumination, the fantasy reconciliation scenarios. These aren't thoughts, they're addiction symptoms. When you recognize them as withdrawal rather than genuine desire, you can observe them without obeying them. Oh, there's the addiction talking again becomes your response, not I need to text her. Experiential learning through implementing silence teaches what no video can. You have to feel the urge and resist it, experience the panic and survive it, face the loneliness and transcend it. This isn't intellectual understanding. It's embodied knowledge. You can't think your way to emotional strength. You have to forge it through experience. The analogy of mastery applies perfectly here. A martial artist doesn't learn to fight by watching videos. A musician doesn't learn to play by reading about music. Emotional mastery requires practice, repetition, failure, adjustment. You're going to fail at no contact multiple times probably. Each failure teaches you something if you're paying attention. Exposure of superficial teachers becomes obvious once you've really done this work. Most people preaching about no contact have never maintained it themselves. They're repeating what they've heard, not what they've lived. Real experience has texture, nuance, complexity. Fake expertise speaks in absolutes and guarantees. Learn to recognize the difference. The distinction between distancing and ignoring is crucial. Distancing is creating healthy space for growth. Ignoring is punitive silence meant to manipulate. One comes from self-respect, the other from hurt ego. One is about your healing, the other is about her punishment. Most men think they're distancing when they're really just having an emotional tantrum at a distance. Emotional neutrality is the goal, not indifference is key. You're not trying to feel nothing. You're trying to feel without being controlled. You can care about her without needing her. You can love her without chasing her. You can want her without requiring her. Neutrality isn't the absence of feeling. It's the presence of choice despite feeling. Reframing rejection as a mirror showing your weaknesses is powerful. Her leaving didn't cause your pain. It revealed where you were already broken. Your devastation shows where you abandoned yourself. Your desperation reveals where you lack self-worth. The breakup isn't the problem. It's the diagnostic tool showing you the real problems. Transformation of pain into insight requires conscious processing. What does this hurt teach you about yourself? What does this addiction reveal about your needs? What does this desperation show about your fears? Pain without processing is just suffering. Pain with consciousness becomes wisdom. You choose which one you're experiencing. Internal sovereignty is the ultimate goal. Complete emotional self-rule. No one else's behavior determines your state. No one else's opinion defines your worth. No one else's presence completes you. You become a sovereign nation of one, allied with others but never dependent. This isn't isolation, it's independence. Acceptance of unpredictability brings peace. You don't know if she'll come back. You don't know if you'll find someone better. You don't know how this ends, and that's okay. Real control comes from dancing with uncertainty, not from eliminating it. Life is unpredictable. Relationships are unpredictable. The only thing you can predict is your own response. Emotional detachment, as strength, not coldness, often gets misunderstood. You're not becoming a robot. You're becoming unshakable. You can still feel deeply while remaining centered. You can still care fully while maintaining boundaries. Detachment isn't about feeling less. It's about being controlled less by what you feel. The trap of expectation kills the entire process. If you're doing no contact while waiting for her return, you're not doing no contact. You're doing contact in your mind. Every day becomes about her potential return rather than your actual growth. You're physically absent but mentally more present than ever. That's not space. That's hovering at a distance. Freedom through emotional mastery is what this really offers. When you master your responses, no one can control you. When you don't need anyone specific, everyone becomes a choice rather than a necessity. When you're complete alone, partnership becomes enhancement rather than completion. This isn't about her anymore. It's about becoming psychologically free. The practical implementation requires structure. Delete her number. Block on all social media. Remove all photos. Pack away gifts and memories. This isn't dramatic, it's practical. You can't heal while picking at the wound. You can't detox while microdosing. Complete separation or don't bother. The timeline varies, but principles remain constant. Maybe it takes you 3 months. Maybe it takes a year. Maybe it takes 5 years. The timeline doesn't matter. What matters is genuine change, real growth, actual transformation. The relationship with yourself is what you're really developing. How do you treat yourself when no one's watching? How do you talk to yourself when you're alone? How do you handle yourself when you're struggling? The relationship with her is over. The relationship with yourself is just beginning, and that's the one that actually matters. Understanding that she was a mirror, not a missing piece, changes everything. She reflected parts of you, both good and bad. Her presence activated certain aspects of your personality. Her absence reveals others. She wasn't completing you. She was showing you where you're incomplete. Now you can do that work yourself. The redefinition of love happens through this process. Love isn't need. Love isn't addiction. Love isn't desperation. Real love is choice from abundance, not clinging from scarcity. When you don't need someone but choose them anyway, that's love. Everything else is just emotional dependency wearing a costume. The masculine frame rebuilds through resistance. Every urge resisted adds a brick. Every boundary held adds structure. Every moment of discipline adds strength. You're not just getting over her, you're building an emotional fortress that no one can breach again. Not because you're closed off, but because you're structurally sound. The death of the old self is necessary for rebirth. The version of you that needed her validation has to die. The version that feared abandonment has to die. The version that confused attachment with love has to die. This isn't comfortable. Death never is. But what emerges from those ashes is who you really are. Recognition of patterns prevents repetition. You'll see the same dynamics trying to recreate themselves, the same type of woman appearing, the same weaknesses being triggered. But now you recognize them. Oh, I've been here before. I know how this ends. That recognition is power. That awareness is protection. The test comes when she actually returns, and many do return eventually in some form. A text, a call, an accidental meeting. This is where you discover if you've really changed or just been waiting. Your response reveals everything. Do you crumble? Do you celebrate? Or do you simply observe with calm neutrality? Thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe if you have not. Make sure the bell notification is turned on to always get updates. Do not forget to like this video. Share with your friends. Drop your thought at the comments.